Anything that is sick and suffering will eventually die, and this includes your relationships. Anything that you do not invest in, you won't get a return from, and this includes your relationships. Anything that you starve rather than feed will not grow, and this includes your relationships. Anything that you don't nourish is eventually going to become malnourished, and this includes your relationships. A lot of relationships are struggling right now. And one of the reasons why relationships are not getting better is because most people are spending all of their time complaining about what's wrong rather than taking the time to, one, have a conversation with each other to discuss how both are feeling about the relationship, and two, people are more steeped in the problem rather than seeking for the solution. Blaming one another does not help your relationship. It does not give the relationship what it needs to be able to grow, to be able to thrive, and to be able to be successful. We all have our shit: shame, hurt, insecurities, and triggers. But the same way that you cannot use the bathroom for me and I cannot use the bathroom for you is the same way that we have to deal with our own personal, emotional, and mental baggage. Now, we are able to talk to one another about it if we are in the place to be able to have those conversations. But it's more beneficial to you if you find somebody outside of your relationship to have a conversation with. And it's even more beneficial to you if you find someone who is a professional, someone who can really guide you from a non-judgmental place, from an unbiased place, but from a very loving and truthful place. Relationships are the foundation of who we all are. And you are going to learn the most about yourself through your relationships with other people. But if you're not taking the time to learn from how you show up, to learn how did I get here if the relationship is not good, to learn how can I make this situation better rather than focusing on everything that's wrong. If you don't learn the lessons that life is coming to teach you, then you're going to continue to repeat the class. And that's why so many people are in their third, fourth marriage and they feel like they're married to the same exact person, because the common denominator in all of your relationships is you. You know, I was speaking to someone a couple of months ago and she went on and on and on about all of the narcissists in her family, all of the people in relationships who she's no longer in relationships with. And it was a lot of dysfunction and disconnect in her relationships. But one of the things that she was not doing was taking the time to really assess herself. Because the truth of the matter is this: if you are experiencing relationship after relationship with people who you term to be narcissistic, or people who you term to be egotistical, or people who you term to be mean, then you really need to sit with yourself, because you are the person who is attracting these experiences in relationships. And until you understand your relationship attraction point so that you have an opportunity to change it, if it is creating relationships that you don't like, you're not going to be able to have a different experience in your relationships. And so again, you know, focusing on what everybody else is doing, isn't doing, should be doing, could be doing better. Well, maybe the problem is you. And maybe you are the one who you need to look at. Maybe you need to just take some time to sit away from relationships and just really discover and uncover the aspects of yourself that are not contributing to having great, healthy, successful relationships. Michael Jackson said it best: I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. No message could be any clearer. If you want to make the world, your relationships, your environment, your circumstances a better place, a better experience, then you need to take a look at yourself and you need to make the internal changes, because the only person who you will ever have control over the actions of is yourself. And so, you know, spending time, wasted time, you know, worrying about what other people are doing or having an opinion about what other people should be doing when your life is messed up is a waste of time. And you could be using your time, your effort, and your energy in a more constructive way, in a way that is constructive for you. Another thing I want to mention too in this video is that, you know, in order for reconstruction to take place, deconstruction has to take place. And sometimes you try to hold on to these relationships that are over, relationships that are not serving you, relationships that are subtracting more from you than they're adding to you. I get it. A lot of people are afraid to make a change. But if what you're experiencing is changing who you are on the inside and not for the better, then you might need to consider a little more seriously, okay, what steps do I need to make in order to have a different and a better experience? As a relationship coach, I work with couples, I work with single people, I work with persons who are about to get married. And one of the things that I can tell you that most of these people do not do when it comes to their relationships, one, they don't take the time to really get to know the person who they are in relationship with. I posted a video a few months ago, and I was talking about, if you are experiencing infidelity in your relationship, but you are not giving sex to your partner, then can you really be mad when they go and they look for their satisfaction from somewhere else? And I had someone who commented and said that I was encouraging, people to be unfaithful in their relationships. And I said, I'm absolutely not encouraging people to be unfaithful in relationships. But if you are participating or contributing to the breakdown of your relationship by not showing up with things that are necessary for the relationship, in this instance I was talking about sex, then you cannot be mad when the person decides that they need to go and fulfill something that you obviously are not making an effort to fulfill for them or to contribute to the relationship. And one of the things that she responded back, and she said, you know what? She said, a lot of people, and she was taking responsibility for herself in this comment, a lot of people get with people who they are not sexually compatible with. And we can say about sex, we can say physically, we can say spiritually, we can say emotionally. There are so many people who get into relationships with other people and you are not compatible. Two cannot walk together unless they be agreed. Don't be unequally yoked with people. And unequal yoking has really nothing to do with just religious beliefs. That could be a part of it. Spiritual beliefs can be a part of it. But there are so many other aspects as well. And so, there are too many people who are living their lives separate rather than finding a way to become one, to come together, to be united. So I pose this question to you. How you're showing up in your relationship, is it contributing more to the division of the relationship or the unification of the relationship? And again, don't look at the person who you're in relationship with because you don't have any control over what they do. I want you to look at you and how you're showing up in your relationships. And when I say relationships, I'm not just talking about intimate relationships. I'm talking about your relationships with your friends, your relationships with your children, your relationships with your parents, your relationships with your coworkers. How are you showing up in a relationship? Because whatever you contribute is what you're going to get back. If you're not making an investment, you cannot expect to get a return. If you're not feeding it, you cannot expect for it to grow. And then when it starves, you shouldn't be surprised, right? So, we always have room to do better, to be better in our lives. But the only way that you can, make steps towards being better in any area of your life, specifically in your relationships, is when you really check yourself, assess yourself. How are you showing up? How are you showing up in your relationships? How are you showing up in the world? How are you showing up with other people? Because whatever you sow is what you're going to reap. Whatever you give out is what you're going to get back. So it's time for, us all to take personal responsibility for what we are experiencing, and take a really close look at what you are contributing, because whatever you contribute is what you're going to receive back, right? And so, I hope this video helps you to, not judge yourself and not criticize yourself and not get down on yourself, but to really be honest with yourself. And, it's never too late to make changes. It's never too late to do something different, and, the rule of Maya Angelou said, when you know better, then you can do better. But it's hard for you to do better if you don't take the time to know, how is what is happening in my life? How is it showing up? And more importantly, how am I contributing to what I am experiencing in life, right? So be better, do better for you. And then whenever you shift to be better for yourself, I promise you, you're going to have a better experience with everything and everybody else.